Shalom Israel, Kol Halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rahakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the elect, the tabernacle of David. Alright, so I found this article, or I got an alert for this article. I believe the name of this author is Kolajo Babajide Jacob. But basically he wrote this book entitled The End Time Mysteries. And it says it's an enthralling book on a man's experience during the end times with people who have the 666 mark. So obviously he's talking about the mark of the beast mentioned in the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter. And that mark of the beast is the RFID chip. The mark of the beast is the microchip, and it will be made mandatory very, very, very soon. That's why the men of the Lord, starting with the elders and apostles of GMS on down, are pushing this word. We're out on the highways and byways each week, and we're prophesying, saying before what's going to happen according to the scriptures. And you have this author here, and he wrote a book. I'm assuming he read the scriptures, he heard about it from somewhere, and he got inspired. And so I just want to read a little bit of the excerpt that he posted in, or that is posted in this article, and then jump to some scriptures. So it says, The End Time Mysteries, a thrilling story that is inspired by the prophecy that will happen during the end times. The End Time Mysteries is the creation of a published author, Kolajo Babajide Jacob. Hopefully I'm saying it right. Anyway, we're going to jump down. It says, Jacob shares the following from his tale. There were numerous questions with no answer readily available. So that right there, we're going to jump to a scripture, because that first sentence is something that's just powerful in itself. So right here, Isaiah 29, because, there's going to come a time soon. The scriptures say that there will be a famine of the word. What does that mean? It basically means that brothers aren't going to be putting out YouTube videos anymore, which is the main way that this word is getting out across the four winds. There's going to be uproars and riots, more than what's already happening right now. Why? Because that's prophecy. Huge uproars, huge riots in the streets. Martial law is going to break out, which I'm going to get into later. But when all that happens, you're not going to see the men of the Lord out on the highways and byways anymore. Where you used to walk by your daily routine each weekend, and used to see those same people that you probably call bums in your head every time you walk by, with some kind of garments on, and you don't know what that represents, just mocking and laughing, and thinking everything is a joke. You're not going to see those men anymore. It's going to come a time where all these riots are happening. We're not going to be out in those streets. So this is Isaiah 29. Yeah, we'll start at verse 11. And it says, And the vision of all is becoming to you as a word of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to become a famine of the word. Once the elect are sealed, then it's going to be a wrap. The prophets, the men of the Lord, the elders, the apostles of GMS on down, aren't going to be out on the streets anymore. And you're going to have people that are going to be like, dang, man, what is going on? All this crazy stuff. The government is not really looking out for me anymore. I don't feel safe. I don't feel secure. I see people getting robbed. More earthquakes, more pestilence and plagues, diseases going everywhere. Again, more riots. What is going on? They're going to be grabbing the Bible. They're going to be going to anybody they see. They're going to be like, yo, tell me what's going on. Break this down to me. But it says, for it is sealed. And then verse 12 says, and the book is delivered to him that is not learned. At this point, they're getting desperate. Probably running the daggone children. Anybody. Anybody they see at this point. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. And that's just how it's going to be, straight up. You don't get these words now, the Lord's going to cut you off. At the end of the day, the elect are going to get it. The elect are the ones who are predestined to receive salvation at the end of the day anyway. But we have to be, conscious of what's going on right now. The scriptures say to give diligence to make thy calling and election sure. It says, verse 13, Wherefore the Lord said, For as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Another word for precept is commandment. And why? What does verse 13 mean? You have people, so-called Christians right now in the church age, and what do? They're in there reading out of the same book as us. They open up the book of Leviticus, look at some laws, and then they say, okay, we're supposed to give tithes. But then they don't want to jump, to the same scriptures. They don't want to read those same scriptures in that same chapter that talk about homosexuality, and then what? We bring that out to them and, don't worry about that. That's all Christianity teaches. It's a doctrine of, do as thou wilt. They're not really worried about the true understanding, breakdowns, prophecies, the deep, dark sayings, the parables of these scriptures, which all of it is beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's only the scriptures say that the Lord revealed his secrets unto his prophets, and that's why you see us. You see us out there in the highways and byways. So right now, it's time to get this word, before all this breaks loose. So let's jump back to that. Let's jump back to that article. All right, so we really only got through the first sentence. There were numerous questions with no answers readily available. As I was climbing down the rope, I had thrown out of my, and once again, this is an excerpt from his story, from his book. As I was climbing down the rope, I had thrown out of my window to whisk me away from this horror. The creaking and constant rhythmic pain from my right femur was indescribable. I hurried along the well-lighted street, took a left turn to a dark alley to avoid being seen by a passerby. I guess if I'm saying that right. My attention was alerted when I saw a wanted sign boldly printed on a poster. Forgetting the pain I had sustained, the sect had posters of those without the mark of the beast. Names and pictures were pasted on every wall on the streets. All right, so let's get into something about that really quickly. We're going to jump to Matthew, the 10th chapter, and we're going to start reading at verse 17. Matthew 10, verse 17. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. So you're going to have some men delivered up, some men of the Lord delivered up, whether it's by their family members, some friends, their neighbors, whoever, may have to get beaten, may have to take a little bit of pain for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, but, you got to be tough. And at that point, if that's your lot, then at the end of the day, then, the Lord is going to put his spirit upon you to get through that. Verse 18, it says, and ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. For it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. All right, and these are going to be those men that are talked about in that article, that don't have or that didn't take that mark of the beast. Going right back to it, it says, it says, names and pictures were pasted on every wall on the streets. Then I knew nowhere was safe and no place to hide. All right, and that's how it's going to be too. It says, turning away from the poster, I continued limping across the alley. I felt a very strange presence around me. Inside, the creature was barely 4 feet, bent like a gorilla, with weird eyes on the head and a great stench. The little illumination from the alley projected the shadow of the creature as that of a man. Suddenly, I turned and ran for my life. All right, and that's all they give you from this. It was a short excerpt from this book, but at the end of the day, I felt as if, in a way, it accurately described what's going to go on. However, the scriptures say this is going to be a time like never was nor shall be. So we can't even fathom right now the things that are going to take place, in these end times. I'm going to read this really quickly just to sum it up. It says, the author aims to reach out to the readers by exposing the revelations regarding the end time so that they can prepare for, it says Jesus Christ, and we know his name, his true name to be Yahweh Shai, all right, so that they can prepare for Yahweh Shai's second coming and not miss the rapture. And at the end of the day, you're not going to find the word rapture, in the scriptures, but that is talking about when the Lord is coming back, And, just touching on that again, you can't choose the Lord, all right? No matter what the Christian churches and the Christian pastor teaches, you can't choose the Lord. There is such thing as predestination. You can read the book of Ephesians, the 1st chapter. It's also talked about in Romans, the 8th chapter, and in various other chapters throughout the book, And the scriptures also say that the Lord has to choose you. You have to think about it. There's actually a living God, a living power out there somewhere. You can't choose him. He created you, so he chooses you. All right? So at the end of the day, the elect are going to hear this word. So, that was a quick summary of his book. So I'm going to get a quick excerpt or quick summary of these end times. Then we're going to get out of here. So this is 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. We're going to start at verse 14. Now this, we're going to read through 19. This is talking about martial law. What is soon going to break loose in America, whether the microchip is made mandatory before martial law, or whether martial law is made mandatory, or martial law happens, and that is a process, that is a step that what makes the mark of the beast mandatory. Either way, it's going to happen because it's in the scriptures. And again, the mark of the beast is the RFID chip. It's a microchip. All right. So our duty right now is to, again, make sure our calling as election is sure. Be praying out to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, asking for forgiveness and doing his will. Doing the work, which is what? Prophesying, praying, spreading this word, going out on the highways and byways. So we're going to read 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, verse 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one place shall stand up against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power." And what does that mean? The kings and princes, meaning the governors, the Senate. Those are the kings and princes of this world. Donald Trump, the president. Once martial law breaks loose, and once all this crazy stuff happens in the streets, plagues, pestilence, violence, and deaths, destruction and woe, basically, which just means destruction, nobody's going to care about their neighbor. You're not going to care about, another man. Shoot, you're even going to have some family members that don't regard their own family members, at the end of the day. It says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Why? Because martial law is going to be breaking loose. You're not going to be able to go down the street anymore and get your nasty ass McDonald's or get your fat little Popeyes. All right, it says, "For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." And you're going to have men running around like punks, just like females out here. And they're going to be wishing that they listen and hearken unto the voice of the Lord, which is what? The prophets. "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor," you see, "but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil," and the sword is a modern day gun, "and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." That's right, because it's going to be famine out here, meaning scarcity of food, lack of food. And without that RFID chip, you're not going to be able to buy or sell anything. But what are you going to do in those times? Are you going to give in, be a punk, and get that chip? Or are you going to remember everything that you were doing in the times right now? Are you praying right now? Are you making videos right now? Because if you're not doing these things, if you're not out there on the highways learning from the men of the Lord, doing your best to read and be diligent every day, the end times are going to come and you're going to be thinking, what? Dang, I could have done more. Elder Apostle Tahar said to make 3 videos a week, 10 minutes long at least, And if you're not doing that, if you only did 2, you're going to be thinking, dang, man, I should have done 3, or I could have done 4. Who knows? But you don't want that to be you in these end times. So, with that being said, again, that was a good read. I'll just go to it really quickly again. The author of that book was Kolajo Babajide Jacob, from Nigeria, I believe. And his book was called The End Time Mysteries. But again, it just related to the scriptures, very well. So I wanted to bring that out. I hope it was edifying. I'm going to give all glory, praises, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rahakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessing to the elect, the tabernacle of David. The ones of you pushing this word in truth and in sincerity of heart across the four winds. To the next time, Shalom.